I've already done some barbecuing in my halogen oven, and I've done some baking, so now I'm going to try something along the lines of a casserole. In this case, I'm going to try to make some macaroni and cheese. Now I'm using a recipe that usually I make in a larger quantity, but I'm going to try to adapt it to fit in this pan because this particular baking pan will fit into my halogen oven. So normally I would take my wet ingredients and sort of make a little bit of a slurry out of it, but I'm going to do this a little differently today. So I'm going to start with my noodles, which I've already cooked, and get those in my pan here. And this really isn't a complicated recipe. I just sort of make a simple macaroni and cheese. I'm going to add, I have here a ½ cup of milk. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of it, so I'm going to start with a little. And then I usually like to put in sour cream, and if I really want a creamy texture, I'll actually use cream cheese. But today we have sour cream, so. And I'm actually starting with 1/3 cup of that. So I'm going to kind of stir this in. And the reason I'm doing it this way, putting the ingredients in here and stirring it, is because since I'm adapting a recipe to a smaller size, I'm not really sure if it's going to be too wet with that amount. You can always add liquid too, but you cannot remove liquid really once it's in there. And see, this right here feels pretty good, so I didn't quite use the ½ cup. I probably used about half of that, so maybe about 1/4 cup. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a ½ cup of the cheese. Let's get some of it in here and mix it on in. Again, a different way I've done this before as well is when I make a little bit of a slurry, I will melt the cheese in that prior to adding the noodles, but you can do it this way too. Everybody sort of has their own little technique, and one is not necessarily better than another because we all have different tastes. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of it. And I did salt the water when I cooked the macaroni. I tend to find that macaroni noodles, or any type of noodles, they're not really flavorful on their own. So if you salt the water, you can actually get some flavor in the noodles, and it's the only opportunity you actually have to really flavor the noodles. And then it helps me not to be able to need to add so much salt, if any, to the actual recipe. So it looks like I'm going to go ahead and add some more cheese to this, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I like a nice cheesy macaroni and cheese. And I'm going to reserve some for the top. I know that some people like to put breading on the top, and you can use any kind of breading you like. I prefer my crispy crust to be cheese. A lot of cheese. I don't make this recipe that often. But you can put breadcrumbs. Some people put cracker crumbs, Ritz crumbs. I've even actually heard of cornflakes. So we're going to start with this just as it stands, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to put this into the halogen oven. So I'm ready to go ahead and put it into the oven. I'm going to put it right there on the rack, and I'm going to use the extender ring. I seem to have the best success with the extender ring when I have something inside that I don't want to overcook or burn or crisp too quickly, like the cheese in here. So I've got that on. It's plugged in. I'm going to set it, I think I'm going to set it about 350, and I'm going to start it for like 15 minutes, and then I'm going to come check it. I might even actually have a look at it in 10. So I'm still in the experimental phase of learning to use this oven, so we're going to go ahead and start with that. So let's get it going. See you in a few. The timer's gone off, so it's been 15 minutes, and it's looking pretty good. See if I can get in there on you. Normally I would cook this for about 35 to 40 minutes in the convection oven. So far this is holding true to cooking faster in this smaller oven. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to put on my topping. And the noodles don't look too bad. I normally would not have stirred them with a fork. I wouldn't want to tear up the noodles. I would fold it in with a spoon. But my kitchen is currently under some work, and I do not have access to like 80% of my kitchen things. They're all sort of boxed up, so I'm making do with what I have. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in for maybe about another 5 minutes, and then we'll have a look at it. This actually had about 3 minutes left on the timer, but I've gone ahead and removed it. The cheesy crust looks really good. That's gold right there. And it's crispy and crunchy. Looks perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out and let it cool. Now I've used Colby Jack today. I can smell it. It smells really good. Typically I like to mix maybe Monterey Jack with extra sharp, but this is what I chose to use today. Now it's not low-fat cheese. This is a pretty rich little casserole here. You could use like a non-fat sour cream and a low-fat cheese. Typically I'll also add frozen peas to this, and I didn't do that this time either. If you wanted to make it even richer, you could have added bacon to this, but let's get this out and have a look at it. Oh my goodness, this smells so delicious. So we're going to go ahead and cut right into that crispy crust. Scoop some of that out. Just look at that cheese coming off of there. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's good right there. So it's really cheesy and gooey on the inside here. Crispy crust on the outside. Looks fantastic. Noodles don't look overly dried out. They look really moist and good. So I'm going to go ahead and steam myself up some asparagus and have a delicious dinner here. So this is another winner for the Big Boss, and maybe you'll want to try one of these machines too. So far, so good.